Radio Rahim with David Diamante. You know, we have popped up on many places in the country, places around the world, but I have to admit that this is my favorite. We get to come here so very few times, being that I'm from Oakland. We're just on the other side of the bay from my hometown. The last time I was here for a fight was Andre Ward. I don't know. Have you been here since that?
I've been here many times since that. So as you know, I lived in the Bay for 11 years. So this is one of my second homes. And I also saw Andre fight out in Oakland.
Yeah.
And I love the Bay, so I'm so excited to be here. It's a great town. It's a great fight town. A lot of people don't know that. It's a big fight history here. So I think the Chase Center is going to be filled up because the fans here are really, they're clamoring for something. And as great of a boxer as we all know Andre was, you know, I love Andre. But he was more of a real fight fans type of fighter because he didn't carry that big knockout or something like that. But a guy like Devin and a guy like Regis, I think this is bringing a lot of excitement because Regis has the power. You know, Devin's a great boxer and he's got some pop. So I think it's the type of the fight that's going to really bring a lot of fans.
You know, that's an interesting point that really Andre was a hometown, favorite and a champion of the city. But he had a hard time cracking the ceiling of superstardom in the sport. We know Devin Haney wants that. He's an undisputed fighter who is now moving up to try to get more belts. It seems like that's his strategy to collect hardware, which is respectable. But because of the criticism, he's faced recently, even after the Lomachenko fight, how do you feel he has in this fight an opportunity to maybe become that star that he really feels he already is?
Well, it's funny that you say what you said about him with the Lomachenko because don't forget, Regis is a guy that's also, I'm going to answer that question, but just to equalize it for both guys because Regis, don't forget, coming up, he lost to Taylor in a very close fight. Yes, he's got the WBC strap at 140, but I think Regis feels like he hasn't really ever got his full due. And his big coming out party in New Orleans, his hometown, he kind of laid an egg with Zorrilla. He'll tell you that. So I think he's also clamoring to really make a statement. So I think both guys are, and it's very interesting that you say that. I think, it's easy to say that Regis is the puncher, Devin's the boxer, but I don't think it's that simple because I think Devin, he might not have that one punch power, but I think he's a guy that can really knock you out with accumulation, and I think also Regis can really box. So the question is, can Regis put the gloves on Devin? And can Devin take that power 140 because he is moving up and Regis is a puncher?
I mean, yeah, to your point, I was definitely going there next in that Haney's the hometown fighter. Regis, as you put it, laid an egg in his homecoming fight. So Regis, I think, has a chip on his shoulder to some degree already because, he hasn't had the opportunities. He feels like he's an avoided fighter. He's now going to get this big stage. And it's not his homecoming fight. It's the other guy's homecoming fight. So I think he wants to be the spoiler.
Yeah.
And Haney feels like he definitely has something to prove on Saturday night that not just to the fans, but maybe to himself that he can deliver superstardom in the sport. And you've seen so many careers being built. I'm not asking you for a prediction of who's going to win. I'm asking you, can this guy be that guy?
Can he? Yes. Has he done it yet? To be seen. I mean, again, collecting all the hardware at 135, massive. But now he's stepping up to another division. So it's going to be big. And Regis is a real fighter, but there's also other guys out there, maybe not at 140, but at 135, let's say Tank, let's say, Ryan. There's a lot of different fighters in this kind of between 135 to 147. There's just so many great fighters. So they need to meet. And this is a good start right here.
One of the criticisms that Haney's had to deal with, which I thought unfairly so, but having had the title bestowed upon him, as they say, and accepting being elevated to the full champion. What do you think about Tank refusing the WBA elevation to full champion?
I mean, look, I think social media can be pretty rough. And I think that Devin definitely, I don't know how much these things affect him, but he's got to read the stuff, right? He's got to see that. And so people write a lot of stuff and getting, becoming an email champ, as people were saying, it's not what he wanted. I don't think it's fair to the fighters really because, it's great that now they're classified as a world champion, but A real champion wants to win it in the ring, and I think that's the right way to do it. So, good for the guys for not accepting it.
Hopefully, we will see these belts won in the ring. We know that Showtime has ended their glorious and long run as a boxing network, but right on the heels of that, in the last 24 hours, we've got PBC announced that on Amazon we'll be seeing live boxing. What do you make of that move?
It's still in the early stages. We'll see. Anything that helps the sport, I'm happy with. I wish that PBC had come to DAZN, because then it would be kind of all the boxing in one place, or not all, but a lot of it. But either way, it's coming to a streaming platform. I think we're seeing that's where the future is. I think DAZN, people don't realize, but DAZN is a long play. And I think DAZN is still in the infancy of what it's going to become. And I think it's already doing quite well, as we're seeing. And it's just going this way.
For your fight fan favorites, where is the hot zone? Is it 140 or 135?
I think that depends on where the wind blows and who's at the division at the moment, right?
Well, right now, it's windy and rainy out here.
I mean, I like Tank. And I think Tank brings a lot of excitement, because Tank is super talented and Tank has a big punch, and fans love that. And fans like him, and fans want to see that. I think Shakur didn't do himself any favors with his last fight, even though I think he's great. Like, Shakur's amazing, but again, like we were talking about Andre Ward, an amazing fighter, all-time great fighter. But you got to be a real fight fan to appreciate his style. And maybe some fan, it's kind of like that maybe with Shakur, because he's so talented, but does he carry that big pop? I mean, a lot of guys want to see that punch. Devin's still there because Devin can kind of do both. He's a great boxer, and he can, you might not have a huge punch, but he's got a punch.
And he's bigger, I think, than people understand. Like, I think when they see the face-off today, especially tomorrow, they'll understand that even though he's coming up in weight, I don't think that he is really struggling to be at 140 pounds. He may still be struggling to make 140 pounds, to be honest. Do you feel like size differential makes play on Saturday night?
I don't know. I think that's one of the big questions for the fight. I mean, size, that's why we have weight divisions, right? Size matters. It is his first fight at 140. Let me say this, though, and make no mistake. Devin Haney, a lot of people, they see him now, maybe on social media, this big star. They think, oh, he just walked into this. Like, Devin's been doing this. So Devin's seen guys like Regis before. They wanted this fight. They fancied this fight. So that there's a reason why they like that, right? These are smart guys. They're strategic. They fancy this fight. They like this fight. So as tough as Regis is, and as much of a big punch as he has, and he can box, the Haney team wants this fight, and that's for a reason. So it's not like he's never faced guys like this. As an amateur, his career, he's seen a lot of guys.
Do you think part of the reason they want this fight is because of the egg, as you put, that was laid by Regis last time out?
Well, I think it's possible. And what's really interesting is it's really hard to judge a fighter on their last performance. I mean, it's all we have, so it's all you can do. But sometimes guys have bad nights out, and Zorrilla made it really, really tough. Danielito was moving around. He was very, very tricky. He knew his way around the ring. He knew Regis carried the power, so he made it really, really hard. And Regis followed him around all night. I mean, hopefully they've worked on cutting off the ring and doing what they need to do.
A fight that we've been waiting for, it seems like forever. We still don't have it, but we're getting teased with it one more time coming up at the end of the year. Just before everybody celebrates the coming of 24, we will see Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder in the same ring, but not at the same time, but on the same night.
Yes.
That's closer than we've ever been before.
Yes.
First of all, what do you think of the matchups that they have to face on the 23rd?
They're not easy fights. And that's what's so... That's why fights need to get made, because they can be overcooked or guys can lose. Things change. Look at Spence. He had a car accident. Guys get hurt. Things happen. So you got to make these fights. There is no telling what happens between Joshua's fight and Wilder's fight. So we all want to see that fight. I want to see that fight.
Has the way you analyze that fight, or predict that fight, maybe I should say, changed since they were both title holders?
Yes, I think so. Absolutely. I think it has to for both guys.
So how is it? What did you have before and what do you have now?
I like, again, I don't go against either guy, but I just think it's a really great fight because I think they have both grown in certain ways and maybe depreciated in some ways, depending on how you look at it. But I think that Joshua, I think he's been working on his boxing a lot. And I think that we all know Joshua has a really, really big punch. So I think anything can happen with that. We all know how big Wilder's punch is. So if he lands on Joshua, that could be a problem. But we've seen Joshua really use his stick a lot lately and work on his boxing. So, and I'm really interested to see the matchup with him and Ben Davison. I like that. I like this matchup. I just do. I think that, obviously Ben's worked with Tyson, but he's an Englishman, and AJ's an English. He came over. He worked with Robert Garcia. He worked with Derek James. He worked with all these guys. But I like him. Me personally, he's from the UK. I like him with a trainer from the UK. I think they're going to kind of speak the same,
language,
cultural
Queen's
language.
English.
The Queen's English, as they say. But I just think it's a good matchup, and I'm really excited to see him against Fallon.
Lastly, we saw what I called a spectacle, especially before the fight happened. I'm all over the internet saying this fight is a complete mismatch and an absurd conversation to have. And then Ngannou goes in there and makes it a fight. Some people even think he won the fight. What do you think?
That wasn't a good performance from Tyson. It was not a good performance. It was a great performance from Ngannou. What a show. Wow. And Fury Usyk. Wow.
Do you think Ngannou has a future in the heavyweight division? Can he just step in and start competing with these guys?
Well, I don't know. I think that make no mistake, UFC fighters, even though there might not be boxers, like, they're fighters. So they're fighters. And yes, there are differences, but there's also similarities. So it's not like he's a complete stranger to the fight game. Obviously, he's a warrior. His story is unbelievable. And he came prepared. I think Tyson overlooked him. So I think, look, you remember Linsanity. Jeremy Lin came and lit the NBA world on fire. We're here at the Chase Center, beautiful home of the Golden State Warriors. So taking this to NBA and talking about that. Guy named Jeremy Lin came on the Knicks, lit up the NBA, but no one had a scouting report on him. Once people saw what he did, he moves to his left, he does this, they shut him down. Not that he wasn't, it completely, he still could play ball, but he wasn't the threat that he was at first. So I think once guys scout Ngannou, it won't be the same threat.
Now that we've seen Ngannou, Fury, and Dubois Usyk, while we're waiting on the Undisputed, which we expect to get in February 27th, has your analysis of that fight changed?
I've always thought it's a good fight. It's an interesting fight. I think it's easy to just say, well, Fury's so much bigger. He should be able to do it, but like, Usyk's a lion, and Usyk is the boxing master. So it's a great fight.
Did those two fights change your analysis, though? I know you're not going to pick a winner, but just tell me if it's moved the needle.
Yeah, I think so. I was just saying earlier in the interview, it's hard to judge a fighter on their last performance, and it is, but that's all we have, so that's what I have to do. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were saying that shot from Dubois was on the belt line. It was legal. He should be the champ. A lot of people said Fury lost against Ngannou. It's a tough one to call, man. It's a tough one to call, but yes, it has changed. I really like this fight coming up.
Well, an easy one to call is whenever you see David Diamante hanging around, put the mic in front of his face and the camera right in front of him, because always a pleasure to talk to you. Love to hear your thoughts on the fight. We can hear your voice here in just a minute at the press conference. We'll see you Saturday night. Radio Rahim with David Diamante.